It's there.
Welcome to Meat Pies and Shots 8. I'm Johnny Compton.
Dan Tomlinson.
So, before we start, those of you that haven't, please go and subscribe and remember to like the videos if you do like them. Right.
You can also dislike them, can't you? You can put thumbs down as well.
Yeah, if you think what them two fat numpties doing, why aren't they telling us what we want to hear? Please tell us that. Comment. Let us know.
Athletes.
Feedback. We'll be athletes. Playing in a charity game, incidentally, me and this guy, 8th of June at Cottingham's Ground, all in aid of cancer research. Get yourselves down if you want to.
If anyone's got any medical emergency kits, I can bring that down. So
you want to come and have a laugh at us running around along with another, I think we've got 24 players so far, so we might be all right. But
10-minute stints, I like it.
We can kick off with Leeds v Castleford. Interesting game. I actually thought two poor teams here, if I'm honest. What do you reckon?
Yeah, was two poor teams. Castleford obviously fit a bit of a rut recently, haven't they? And Leeds, laugh out loud, are just absolutely dog shite at me. They are so unbalanced, it's hilarious. And I'll start with Leeds because they obviously got rid of their coach, Dave Ferner, and they've brought in Richard Agar until the end of the season, which is, from obviously me and Johnny are all FC fans, and from our point of view, that's nothing short of hilarious. Because we enjoyed Richard Agar for a few years as old coach, and he was bad. The type of rugby he played was horrific. Like it was like the classic case for insomnia. Cure won it. It was unbelievably bad, and I just can't believe that's the direction they're heading in. Obviously, the statement from Gary Everington when they sacked Dave Ferner was absolutely hilarious, trying to protect Kevin Sinfield, and little Sir Kev over there, he's unaccountable. He's not to blame for anything, including the shit recruitment for this year. So they're absolutely in crisis, aren't they, Leeds? And I tell you what, it's absolutely hilarious to watch, and long may it continue. I was at Henley for the cricket this past weekend, England v Pakistan. I had a little look around the rugby ground before the cricket started, and it is top notch. It's the best ground in Super League by far.
Apart from the away end.
Yeah, foot the away end. You just go in the stands if you're that bothered. Just go have a seat at the end of the stand. But it's an incredible ground, and they've done everything right, in that term. But on the field, where it matters probably most, if you're a paying fan, they're an absolute soap opera. They're a joke, aren't they? And they're just so unbalanced. They've got nothing about them. They've got rubbish halfbacks, rubbish forwards. Callum Watkins is an absolute shade of what he was pre-injury. Tom Briscoe, we had the luxury of watching him at Hull for 5.5 seasons, and he was brilliant. He was an England international winner when he was at Hull FC. He's not anymore. Again, he's a shadow of that player. So they've got so many holes in that squad, and as I say, I'm not complaining. It's absolutely fantastic to watch, and long way to continue.
I said at the start of the year about Leeds that they lacked halves, and the signings they'd made didn't fit where their holes were in their team, and there seemed to be real problems because the players they were trying to move on were probably arguably some of the better players, as in Parcell and Cuthbertson, and Singleton's hardly had a sniff this year. He's somebody who I really rate. I just don't really get it. Lola here was never going to be a quality signing. Never, ever, ever. I've said all along, Conrad Hurrell is a good player, but he misses big chunks of seasons due to probably his body shape more than anything, and the way that he plays and the strain that it takes on you. He isn't able to complete a full season, and when he's not there, they don't have any sort of strike. There's no organisation with them, and that starts at the base of the ruck as well. Brad Dwyer, for all his effort and all his ability, all his spark and hard work, which he undoubtedly has, runs around like a headless chicken a lot of the time. Yeah. And they just don't play to any sort of controlled structure at all. And Richie Marler gets involved on the last tackle and then kicks it down the throat of the winger.
I don't get the hooker thing, John, because Matt Parcell, for me, is a much better player, yet they start with Dwyer and they bring Parcell on, don't they?
What they've looked at is Parcell's delivery from dummy half, and his delivery from dummy half is awful.
But his scouting, his running ability from dummy half is unreal, so why not adapt your game?
Well,
play like that,
I would turn around and say, man, they won a comp with Parcell at 9, didn't they?
Exactly.
And that was playing off a quick play of the ball, looking to jump out and play a high tempo. There's an argument that they don't necessarily have the players to play like that at the moment. Ryan Hall was a big catalyst for a lot of what they did in terms of getting their set started, and alongside Briscoe, that's a big hole, to fulfill. And basically, they're Ash Hanley to be Ryan Hall, and he's not that player. That's the reality of it. You have cycles, don't you, in terms of sport, and they are in, it's an overused term, but they are in a transition period. It's just the senior players that they need to lead them through it and not up to it. That's where I see Leeds as being now. They would be well advised, I think, to blood more of the youngsters. But the difficult thing is we do have relegation for them. So they're looking at it and they're trying to paper over cracks and they're trying to come up with ways of winning. But we saw the Big Bash this weekend, and I probably saw 4 teams in the Championship who were better than Leeds at the moment. And it's not just Leeds either. I think the gulf between the Championship and the bottom end of Super League is not very big. I think there are. I'd say London, I'd say Rovers, I'd say Leeds. I'd probably throw Huddersfield maybe into it as well. I'd say all 4 of those on any given day could probably get turned over by the top end Championship teams, and it's a good thing for our competition long term. But if you're a Leeds fan, you'd be worried. Castleford, wasn't impressed with them either, and I think they look like a team who I reckon will miss the 5 now. And being a team I tipped for the grand final at the start of the year, and I thought they would really go there. At the best, and with the best 17, they trouble anyone, or the 7 did. But there's an argument they've peaked too early, and they don't seem to be able to manage injuries as well as some of the other team. You take 1 or 2 out of their squad, and the people coming in aren't as good anymore. And it was noticeable, I think, against Leeds that. Well, my point is, I think had they been any good or played to where I'd expect Castleford to play, I think they'd have put 50 on Leeds. Leeds were well and truly there for the taking the other night.
Cass haven't been the same for me since they lost Zach Hardaker. He was a massive part of that 2017 season. In my opinion, probably more influential than Luke Gill was.
It was the strike, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, absolutely. And Luke Gill's had 2 years of injury troubles now, and they're missing him. And it's telling. They've got no direction on the field. And Darryl Powell, he seems to say the same things every week, but they don't learn, do they? They're not learning from their mistakes, which is obviously a worrying sign. I'm tending to agree with you now. I think the top 5 could be a case of obviously St Helens, Warrington, Catalans, Hull and Wakefield, and I think not necessarily in that order, but I think Cass could actually miss out.
And I think if somebody's going to sneak in, I'd say it's going to be Salford now.
Yeah, if you're going to have a club back way, because as I say, they're only 1 win away, aren't they?
Yeah,
so yeah, it could be a situation of Salford coming in, but Castleford, they're struggling, aren't they? That was a much needed win, though, I must say, and for them to get the 2 points because they lost. I think it was the previous 5 or 6.
What could help them is their own form. Their own form is usually pretty strong because their pitch is such.
It's narrow,
such a small. The dimensions of it are tiny, aren't they? And they're used to playing on that, and to play on the front foot on it, and they can get momentum. We're halfway through the year, so it gives us a true reflection of the first half of the season. But equally, there's the same amount of games to play again. I just think unless they were to get somebody like Luke Gale back, it's a big ask to ask Jake Truman to get them around the pitch for the entire season.
It's all part of Jake Truman as well. That's the problem, isn't it? They're definitely struggling there. I think I do agree they'll definitely miss out on the playoffs, unfortunately for them.
Right. So you said we see where they both are. We agree. What do you reckon to Leeds then? Do you think they'll go down?
I tell you what. Well, the next game's Magic Weekend, isn't it? And they play London Broncos. London win that. You never know, do you? It's where a Rovers wins is going to come from. That's another thing. I know they beat Salford in the cup and they play them at Magic. And
I've tipped London to beat Leeds this week.
Well, Leeds have still got to play London twice. Leeds have got to play. Leeds have. No, they played Rovers twice now, haven't they? I think they've got them again though. Rovers have got to go to London yet.
I can see London picking some points up. Yeah.
The thing is with London, we did this last time, didn't we? With meat pies and shots, they can. When they throw the ball about and the chance they're on, they're a good side. And we watched them on Sky against Wigan a few weeks ago, and they were really conservative. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see what happens. That relegation battle could.
And they might have listened to me. Right now, they might have listened to Meat Pies and Shots because they went out against Wakefield and took 42 points.
I think 42 past them on the opening day as well. So that's 84 points. That's like nearly half their points has gone in Super League in 2 games against the same opposition.
Interesting.
Which it's crazy. Yeah. Leeds could generally go down though. It's Richard Agar said they're in a relegation fight after the Cass game, and he's bang on. They generally are
I can see them though going out and bringing some players in now. They could well do a Wigan and bust the salary cap and do whatever
Just
it
take the
takes.
12 point.
Yeah.
Yeah, next year,
And
12
just
point.
go for it.
Fine,
There's talk of, and interesting, it brings us on to this because it's both these teams. I mean, Joe Westerman at Hull FC, we've offered him a deal. I don't think it's anywhere near what both Cass or Leeds have offered him for next year. But there's talk that he could potentially end up at Leeds before the end of the season. I really wouldn't like that to happen. I don't think.
I'm a West Ham fan, so
Yeah.
that would piss me off actually.
But is he what Leeds need? I don't think it's.
Well, they need some shape and to some direction. West Ham gives you that, doesn't he? From 13,
he'd control from there. He'd dictate.
old school looks forward, and we've just spoke about Leeds' halfbacks. The fact that they haven't got any decent ones.
Well, he would give them a bit more room, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
It'd also mean, say Lola here plays, he then plays an extra man out,
Exactly.
a bit further out.
And
And that
we always say his best
is
position
a
is fullback.
fullback. So it could end up in a scenario where Joe Westerman goes in there and completely transforms. I'd really not like Hull FC to lose him at this stage unless we were bringing somebody else in to fulfil that role.
If West Ham's going to go mid-season, and this is an if, then you've got to.
And his performances haven't dropped, have they? Since some of these rumours have come out and everything.
It's been great.
If anything, he's picked back up the last couple of weeks. So, I mean, where do you see with Castleford that they need to recruit? I mean, they've already brought in Chase Blair, who as
They needed a free quarter, didn't they?
Yeah.
Losing Jake Webster and.
Minikin in the centre for me doesn't really work.
No, exactly. That's why they've done it, haven't they? And when Shenton's back, they've got two decent play centres there.
And then Minikin goes back to the wing probably with Eden and Claire. There's
3 into 2 there, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, like you said, for me, they've got the best prop in the league in Liam Watts, but there's not much else there, is there?
He complements him quite well as as a similar player. And then
I think on paper, you think we are missing Junior Moores right now, aren't they? He's a big loss.
another strike, yeah.
Jesse Senna
You say that right, Dan. Every single team in Super League is missing key players at the moment.
Barron St Helens.
Even St Helens are missing
They just
Percival.
They just rest them when they want, don't they?
Yeah, well, they're missing Percival at the moment, missing Roby, they've missed Louis McCarthy Scarsbrook, Thompson's missing. So I'd say everybody's missing key players, really. It's just how you manage it, how your backup players come in and deal with that. Interesting one for me, Leeds and Castleford. I don't think the table lies. That's all I'm going to say with it. And I think Castleford, you get their first 17 on the pitch, instantly they're a top 4 team. Leeds, even with the strongest 17, because they haven't struggled that bad with injuries. No. Even with the strongest 17, they're not a playoff team, nowhere near.
No, nowhere near.
But I don't think they will go down either.
As I say, it'd be interesting to see how it unfolds. You can't really call it now because, like I say, they've all got to play each other, these bottom teams, and you think Huddersfield are in that fight. Well, they got a huge win on Friday, didn't they? So we'll get more indication when they play each other, and this weekend as well as a huge.
It gets worse for them before it gets better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right.
St Helens v Salford then.
What a game is the best thing I'm going to say. Really, really good game.
32-30 win for St Helens. Was it 36? Yeah, 16-0 up they went, didn't they? And then Salford scored 30 unanswered points, 16-30, and St Helens with the 3 tries to win the game. The winner from James Bentley was controversial, shall we say, to say the least.
I see why it was given as a try.
Yeah, I didn't actually have a massive gripe about it. Usually, when we get like a massive video thing, usually I'm the first one to get the pitchfork out. But the fact that it was such a great game. And it was a good result for all as well, because we don't want Salford getting up there, do we?
So it was quite a tip since as well.
I like Salford, don't get me wrong. They've got a great coach in Ian Watson. And in fact, I'll rephrase that, a brilliant coach in Ian Watson. And they've done well to get themselves
How long before
up there.
somebody comes sniffing around Ian Watson then? I know it's...
Well, right now, you'd go back to Leeds. He'd do a great job there, wouldn't he? He's basically rebuilt 2 squads at Salford, hasn't he?
Who do you reckon will get the job at Leeds?
Stevie Wonder.
I mean, how Richard Agar is there is unbelievable. He must have some photos of the Hetheringtons tucked away somewhere. But is it going to be this talk of Tony Smith maybe coming back as a director of rugby with somebody like Richard Marshall underneath him? Sean Waynes would be the perfect one for Leeds. Yeah. If I was a Leeds fan, I'd be really open for Sean Waynes.
Yeah, absolutely. But Salford, obviously Salford played really well. Robert Louis had a great game. He actually overshined Jackson Hastings for once. Just Louis was unplayable at times. I like the fullback/winger now levels. I think he's a good player.
I think I made this point about Rob Louis at the weekend. Is the difference was Polly came and sat on his shoulder, and so he takes an awful lot of. You've got to account for him because of the size and the frame of him. You have to watch him. You can't just go man for man on somebody that size, otherwise he'll go over the top of you.
Yeah.
And it just afforded Robert Louis that extra half a yard of space, to play off, and he was up for it. Salford were up for it. Full stop. You could see they'd come out with a point to prove. I think one or two of their players have signed elsewhere, and it's starting to come out now.
Josh Jones
at LFC.
Yeah, there'll probably be a couple more too.
And I think there's a bit of resolve there with Salford that they're going to enjoy the end of the year and just kick on now. Now their futures, or as their futures get resolved, it'll almost take a bit of a burden off them. It can go two ways, because if they end up adrift of the 5 and not a lot to play for, you could find a scenario where some of these players go missing, and it tells you a lot about their character, really. They're going forward for the new teams. But yeah, Jackson Hastings still offers a threat. Rob Louis offers a threat. They're spine, full stop. I was impressed with Joey.
He's good at hook already.
Yeah, and their forwards, Dudson and Mossop, they went forward, didn't they? They took it to Saints. What was noticeable, though, for me, was the period when Alex Walmsley was off, and it shows that this is where they are missing Luke Thompson, because when you have the pair of them going at you, it takes that much energy out of you, that you're really struggling. Salford were able to manage the period, or to a certain extent, were able to manage the periods when Alex Walmsley was on the pitch, and yes, he was dominant, and yes, he took them forward, but he doesn't play 80 minutes. They seem to really target whilst he was off.
Yeah.
And whether that was a deliberate thing or whether it's just a natural thing that Saints aren't as good when he's not on the pitch, I don't know. But they were red hot from minute 16 to minute 60. Salford was superb, weren't they? And
then the famous never right off the Saints comeback. Lachlan Coulter, I singled out who would be St Helens' most important player this year, and he sort of looked at me and went, yeah, that's what I've got over you there, isn't it? He might be topping up the cream tipping league, but he's a great player. He got himself a hat trick.
He's still not been their best player.
No, Johnny Lomax is their best player. That's something we both agree on.
He's been good though, Lo. I can't say Coulter hasn't been good.
No, Coulter's been very good. Compliments Lomax, doesn't he? You got the running threat and the kicking game
Theo
from
Fage back in.
Theo Fage back in. Yeah, where's Richardson?
He's not playing, is he?
Not good enough, mate. I keep telling you that.
Well, you talk about Theo Fage. Castleford are in for Theo Fage, apparently. I mean, there's talk of him going to the NRL, but equally, Castleford are another team who are in for it. So.
Castleford got no chance. Like, with George
It depends how much money you want to spend, doesn't it? Is Theo Fage good enough to play in the NRL?
No.
Exactly. And he probably knows that.
As a pivot, that's the one position where they are spoilt for choice.
As sixes, yeah, they are. Sevens. Some of our sevens, I would say, are at a different level to the NRL sevens. We play a different style of game, though.
Yeah, we do, so massively.
They're running... George Williams, as an example, I think will go really well in the NRL. Yeah. Theo Fage, because he has a running game, Theo Fage's running game is not... He's a bits and pieces halfback, and that's not been detrimental to him, but... He's very good in all aspects without being outstanding in anything. Yeah. If you know what I'm saying. And so he complements this Saints team really well. Whether he'd go into an NRL team and lead them
definitely up for question, yeah. That's what Lachlan Coulter does. He complements them really well. Short kicking game, long kicking game. Out the back is obviously a running threat as well. He's been really good. It was interesting to see the Man of Steel leaderboard. And obviously, your Blake Austin, your David Fafita. And then there was rated on the pecking order about 7th or 8th is Johnny Lomax.
I know.
Yeah, every time I watch St Helens, he's outstanding. It's like obligatory.
He doesn't do anything wrong. Everything he does is quality, and he uses class for me.
It's interesting. Obviously we'll come on to Hull in a bit, but Jamie Shaw, that fullback that always gets criticised by anyone outside of Hull, he got 3 points on his return, so that was interesting.
Yeah, we'll come on to that.
Yeah, I just went while we're doing the Man of Steel points.
I thought it was a ridiculous decision to give him 3 Man of Steel points.
But that's the point. I've had this point with the Man of Steel thing before. They've gone down this route of ex-players on a panel, haven't they, to give it more credibility, because let's face it, some players were taking the piss out of the voting, weren't they? They were
about 3% of the players when you looked at it. It was still, I thought, the format was, there was enough buy-in,
He could have been tougher. I think you suggested last time we talked about this, something like... a shortlist, and you give that to your club and you pass it around and you pick one of the shortlists. can even have as many as 10, 10 players. And
Well, we've gone to the Dally M
through
system, haven't we? This is what we've done.
I don't like it.
I know,
I've put it out there now after 15 rounds. I don't like it. I don't think it's working.
Not all of those, right? These people on the Legends panel, a lot of them all of them were extremely good players. Not all of them know what they're talking about. You don't just because you're a really good rugby player. That's not a prerequisite for knowing about the ins and outs of the game and recognising who's performing better than who.
Well,
You look at all the top coaches, and very few of them have played at the top level. Or certainly they may have played at the top level, but they haven't been outstanding superstars of the game, have they?
Jose Mourinho was never an outstanding player. Alex Ferguson, Pep Guardiola, they're not like world-class former players.
Guardiola was pretty good.
What world-class?
He was mate, you're not old enough to remember. Guardiola was quality when I was a kid.
As good as Carlos Puyol?
He was significantly better because he was a midfielder.
Okay, well, we'll go back there then. So, St Helens, are they going to win the League Leaders Shield for you?
Yeah, 100%. Hopefully by a mile as well. I'd like to see him run away with it now. And
get complacent and bottle the playoffs again.
I wouldn't care if, as long as when we play him, I'd like to see us beat him. I think that'd really set down a bit of a marker for us.
But two games at home against them, haven't we? So
other than that, I couldn't care less if they didn't lose another game in the league. I'd like to see them obviously losing the cup.
Yeah,
but yeah, let them run away with it. It suits us. Let them beat everybody else.
As for Salford, I say they could push the playoffs. Could give it a good go.
It's 50-50, innit? It comes down to how these players like Sir Josh Jones, Jackson Hastings, Rob Louis, people who are being touted about.
Well, Josh Griffin was announced as a whole player 2 years ago mid-season, and he never dropped off for Salford.
No.
He played a huge part in sending our nearest and dearest to the championship, didn't he? So, if you get the right attitude, usually players can... Willie Manor was a prime example for all. He signed for St Helens mid-season, and it was announced mid-season, and he played the rest of the year out for all, and his performances never dropped. So, it's down to the individual, isn't it, as a person, and it'll be interesting to see how Salford go, because, like I say, they do play the right type of rugby. They're good to watch, and they can score points, and that always makes them a threat. To get that sort of performance at St Helens 32-30, come 3 or 4 minutes away from winning the game was impressive, and the point you made at the start, what a great game it was to watch on Sky, and we've said this all season. Super League's been much better to watch this year. I've fully enjoyed the competition so far.
I thought Chris Nanino's added to Salford.
Yeah, massively. Yeah.
Good pickup for them. And they've managed to pick him up as a non-fed player as well, due to witnesses troubles earlier in the year. Yeah, smart bit of business. I think if their key thing for next year with Salford will be retaining Ian Watson and ensuring that he's at the helm. If they do that, I have full confidence that he'll find some nuggets from somewhere and cobble together a team that competes and does well.
He's done it already, hasn't he? So
knows their role.
Do it again. Moving on then, Huddersfield v Rovers.
Enjoyed this.
Well, Rovers are winning the game 16-8 at half time, and they capitulated, didn't they? Huddersfield ran away with it.
You see the tries as well. I thought there was a softness about some of them. It was poor defence.
Two poor teams, going head to head, wasn't it? Say that now, we've got Huddersfield this weekend, so I think it's not dissing so much.
I have to say, and regardless of whether we have Huddersfield this week, Huddersfield can play some decent rugby, and I think Simon Wolford as a coach is honest.
The cup game against the Ellens, they were very unlucky. Yeah. They arguably could have and maybe should have beaten them.
But there are holes in their team, aren't they? And we've talked about this on Meat Pies and Shots before. That for me, I think the forwards can get beat up. You can get at their pack, and that's where
their coach pretty much says this. He pretty much in black and white said they're too soft and they don't like it when it gets tough.
And there's one area Rovers can't get at teams because I don't think they're big enough. And they brought the depth in their pack isn't there, is it? I was talking to a friend of mine who was there. He went and he said,
"You got Rovers now?"
Yeah, for my sins. And he I call him my mate. Somebody I talk to him now and then. Find out.
I burnt my bridges with my Rovers, mate. I called him out on him telling Ratto. He said Ratto and Lago shite. So he had a storm against Warrington.
My lad's new favourite player. My eldest lad went to his first game of the season on Sunday, and he's gone to school chanting Ratu, Ratu, Ratu.
Brilliant. They don't like
talking about, let's say they've lost Nick Scruton and Lee Jewett this week, who both unfortunately, Scruton's had to retire and Jewett's taking a spell away from the game at 32.
Did they say Jewett was good enough? A lot of Rovers fans would say no.
No, I wouldn't have said so anyway. But that's their depth in the front row gone, isn't it? So they're reliant on Garbutt and Masoe now, and Mulhern.
Oh wow.
And Garbutt, who they've come out and acknowledged has problems with his knees and is going to struggle to get through the season, and they've got to manage that problem.
It's worth treating it now and letting him come back in the year.
If they do, then they end up playing the likes of Harry Bardell and Owen Harrison, two young kids playing in the front row, and it shows the depth and it shows the value in having a reserve team as well.
They've got to target their fixtures.
They don't have one.
Yeah. If Rovers don't target their fixtures, they're going down, aren't they? Or they're very close to going down. They've got to pick out like when they go to London, that's a must-win game, obviously.
But aside, this was a game you would have said they'd have to target against Huddersfield, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
it's a bottom four game. Yeah. All right, Huddersfield are a decent team, but they're and I'd say they're probably the fourth best of those four teams that I've identified as being the bottom four.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, definitely.
But they are. That is where they're at. They're probably the top end of that little table. I don't think they'll get relegated, but I don't see them finishing any higher than ninth.
Like you say, ninth is about right. That's the fourth
team,
isn't it?
But Rovers are looking to target that. They were comfortably in front. They were 16 with the halfbacks they've got. They should be able to manage that game out.
Joseph the boys, Danny Maguire announced as head of recruitment. They don't land, do they? Well, I can't wait to see this unfold next year. They'll sign about 3 Leeds cast-offs.
Carl Ablett, Jamie Jones Buchanan. Whoever leads that. What's the fullback? The kid playing
Ashton Golden.
He'll be at Rovers next year.
They just do not learn. Idiots. And interesting, Alex Mellor's just rejected a new contract at Huddersfield.
You like him, don't you?
No, I don't like him. I just said there was... all I said to you was that there's been rumours that Hull FC are trying to sign him.
Not for me, not the calibre of player we need.
Rovers have offered a bigger contract, so...
I'll see you later. Have fun. Again, he's not quite skillful or quick enough to play as a centre for me. He certainly won't get in our centres.
Yeah.
And as a back row, he's not big enough.
What I said to you is I'm sort of opinion over Hull FC signing. Radford can sign who he wants. Because he's proven that he knows what he's doing. Well, he knows more than me and Johnny, that's for certain. And to be fair, 95% of his signings have come in and done a job for us.
I don't see Alex Mellor as being a Lee Radford signing.
No.
If I'm honest.
Is that a player we're genuinely interested in, or is that just a hyped up rumour?
Exactly. That's a bit of smokescreen.
What are we now? End of May. Coming up to end of May. We're past the cut-off point now where players can speak to whoever they want. Agents can represent their players at clubs and talk to deals and try, obviously, get the best deal for their client. And that means that every Tom, Dick and Harry thinks he knows everything, thinks he knows what's going on. And I mean, social media is full of rumours and it's a bit tedious at times.
I love a rumour, mate.
Sometimes I find it boring, to be honest.
I mean, Rovers, what I do find interesting is they're telling their players now, on your bike, some of them. Like Sean Lund, and who I understand why Ryan Shaw's a strange one for me. There was a video clip, and obviously don't watch most of Rovers games. I tend to see the highlights more than anything, or when they're on TV. But there was a video clip against Warrington, where Warrington made a really... Was it against Warrington? Anyway, it was against somebody, and the team made a break. Ryan Shaw comes out of nowhere from the opposite wing, chases him down, puts him into touch. Leeds, it was the Leeds game, yeah. And that epitomised to me what Rovers need. That's what teams need to get out of the trouble that they're in at the bottom end, and to whenever he's played against us, he's caused us problems.
Yeah, he's been alright. Yeah,
he's a good goal kicker. I think it's a strange one for me when they've got some poor outside backs there. I don't necessarily, unless they've got people lined up to come in, and replace him.
Jordan Abdul
and Jordan Lilly apparently will be the halfbacks at Hull KR next year.
Wow. Well, I suppose so. Championship.
What did I say on Twitter? I said it's very prudent of Rovers to be preparing for the Championship this early with it. But yeah, if rumours are to be believed, and the Rovers fans who I know tend to get things reasonably right, think their halfbacks next year are set to be Jordan Abdul and Jordan Lilly.
Good luck, boys. Moving on to the bigger, better, more prestigious club in Hull, who went to Warrington Saturday afternoon. Got a good win. 19-12 winners, 18-6 up at one point. Mark Sneed drop goal pretty much clinched it. And defensively, Hull were outstanding. The scramble was brilliant. I was actually in the top left corner of the stand, and there was one where Wise spread the ball and Josh Sharley was about to go in, and Jamie Shaw last ditch tackle along with Mark Sneed held him up, and And it's just little things like that. The scramble was
There was
excellent.
one in the first half. There was a cover tackle, wasn't there, from Jamie Shaw?
Yeah,
Where he put
yeah,
him into
yeah.
touch as well.
And Ratzel's one as well, where literally just put I think it was an arm on his shoulder, just
It was
right
a
on the
shoulder
line.
charge because he was looking to not get penalised. But
just putting your body on the line, preventing the try, maybe illegally so in that case. But Hull's scramble was really impressive, and that's no coincidence whatsoever that Hull defensively probably give up their best display of the season with Jamie Shaw back at fullback because he gets the numbers right, either side of the ruck. He marshals the defence. He's very vocal. He's a brilliant rugby league player. I don't understand why he gets critics. It absolutely bemuses me. Not the best pivot fullback, I'll admit that, but he's got other qualities to his game.
We don't need him as a pivot, do we?
No.
This is the thing, we don't.
No.
And
this is what people don't get.
If we're playing Westy at loose man, which he played 70 minutes, he plays as
full 80, did West Ham.
He had a little 10 minutes.
A little 10-minute break. I didn't even notice.
Yeah. And it wasn't long before he was thrown straight back out there.
Yeah.
But you've got Westy playing as your first man, and then you've got your halves out the back, and Kelly and Sneed, and Kelly. Both of them were outstanding as well. And you talk about the Man of Steel points a little bit, and I sort of took issue because I thought Mark Sneed again was superb.
Well, he got Mark 3.
Yeah,
and
it wasn't just about what he did with the ball and how he managed his battle. Defensively, I thought he was amazing.
You've been reading up the Queen.co.uk.
I haven't. I'll be honest, I haven't read it. But I thought defensively he was tremendous. It was superb.
What I loved about Sneed as well was during Tag's moments when Tag was off the field, Scott Taylor, he's obviously the on-field captain.
There's little bits, weren't there? He threw the ball.
I love the fact that Sneed, he'll argue with the referee. As a captain, you've got the...
It was the captain this week, though, wasn't he?
Tag led him out, didn't he? But he never shuts up, does he? He argues our cause and he fights and literally he'll put our point across for every single incident, and I love that. Houghton is a great player for Leicester, but he doesn't do that enough for me. When something happens, like when an old player gets shot and he gets sent into the middle of the next week, Houghton should be screaming at the referee as captain. Danny Maguire did it for donkey's years. Sean Long used to do it for years and years and years and years. Sneed doing that now, and I like that. He's as I say, on the field with the ball, he gets us around the park superbly. But without the ball, he shows some really good signs as well. And he's a brilliant player, Sneed, and he's the best seven in the comp by a mile. I don't care what anyone says.
Absolutely. I thought we were a bit clunky with the ball, but what I'll say is the result is everything. And it was a result for desire, it was a result for hard work, and it was a result for character. Yeah. It really was. It was a great old-fashioned game with some niggle and some fun. And do you know what I really like?
Both sides tried to get under the other, didn't they? Definitely under the skin.
And neither team backed down. What I love as well is we've come out of it and nobody's been banned. You know, and the previous years you'd have had 4 or 5 of them, missing a couple of games after that, and the game got too sterile for me. There's been a big improvement this year, and there has been a bit more niggle, and there has been a bit more fire, and the disciplinary panel have taken a realistic view to some of this and where we're going. I thought Hull's performance overall was very, very good, but we're going in the right direction. You've got to remember, right? I pointed out on the day we were missing Beretta Farimo, we were missing Carlos Tumavavi, we were missing Josh Bowden, we were missing Gareth Ellis, Danny Houghton, Sika Manu, Andre Cervello, all of whom would have made the 17.
Well, they are in the 17 every week if they're fit.
And then if they're not fit, we're players who were also missing: Jordan Lane, Jack Logan, Jez Litton, who all would have come in. Yeah, well, he wasn't available, was it? He wasn't considered for selection
because of his family bereavement.
Yeah,
poor lad.
So you're missing those players, and then you talk about even from the start of the year, like so for Thule Talent, we've found a way to manage this adversity. So when there is half a dozen players missing. It was the very same scenario against Warrington earlier in the year where we had a few missing, we turned up and we got absolutely dicked by him. Yeah,
whereas this year we turn up. So this time we turn up and we don't.
It was a real key point in our season, I think.
I always play the injury card every week because it's relevant. LSC's injury list over the past 18 months has been absolutely ludicrous. It's been mental. The volume of players we've had missing and what we've had to cope with, and to be still fighting on 2 fronts, I think is
we're well placed in 2 fronts now, aren't we?
Now we can look forward with optimism. Now I'm genuinely excited to see what 2019 can offer.
The Challenge Cup quarter final is going to be difficult against the holders, and we're at home though, which is all you can ask for in the quarter final.
Well, I said this on my other podcast. that cup game, I'm expecting Catawans to go down in exactly the same manner we went down at St Helens last year.
Yeah.
It's their cup, innit? They won't go down without a fight. They're not going to roll over. It'll be a really tough game. Arguably, it's probably one of the toughest games we could have gotten, but just lucky that it is.
And they're at a similar level to us as well. You know, they are a
good team.
They're a decent
they're a
team.
good
You know,
side.
coming at us, they're going to throw everything at us, and we're going to be right on our game. I think we are already thinking about these sort of games and managing them and making sure we give people a rest who require it. Radha's even said after the game, at a push, Danny Houghton could have played. And it was a dead leg for Farima. We've all seen him come out.
But Farima was struggling, wasn't he? The cup game.
Well, he struggled with a dead leg for a few weeks, hasn't he? So I think it was the right decision to just give him a week. And
that's another thing that really impressed me. Kieran Buchanan came in, and obviously it was his error that gave Toby King the opening try. It was a gift. It was put on a plate for him. Could have gone 2 ways after that. His head could have dropped, or he could have stood up to be counted and played his part for the rest of the game. And luckily for Leslie, he did the latter. Yeah. He didn't do anything, absolutely startling. But I tell you what, one of his carries, he put Ben Westwood on his ass, and that was good to see.
I was surprised that Warrington didn't target him more, with their kicking game, and that
they kept kicking to Ratter when he was taking him like one-handed like that.
It was, and that's a sign for me how poor their game management is. They thought they could just blitz us off the field and they'll just go and play at speed and blitz.
I noticed the winning game with Austin and Ratchford, they just thought they could run rings round us and they couldn't do that because our scramble was so good.
I mean, Austin, you've got to account for Austin, and he is a good running threat. But in order for them to go to that next level and win games like that, when it gets tight and it gets close, I've said this all along, they need a 7 who's going to dominate.
They need someone to partner alongside him. He's their Albert Kelly, they need a Mark Sneed.
Well, their fans are shouting for the fact and saying that Ratchford should be in the halves with them now. Yeah. I probably agree. I probably think that's their best.
Play at fullback, then.
Well, they've got Jake Mammo, haven't they? Who could come in and play fullback.
That's not a bad shout, that,
It probably gives them a bit more balance. There's talk of Atkins leaving as early as possible now. With their Luther Burrell comes in next month for them, doesn't he?
Does, yeah.
So it bolsters them there. They've also got. I like Bryson Goodwin. I thought he was wasted on the wing. He's a much better centre. He was again nice and spiky. The battle with him and Connor was interesting. I thought.
Boiled over a couple of times. Good to watch though.
Absolutely, that's what you like. I thought again, it was an old school game, but it was a good game, and as a Hull FC fan, it was brilliant to see, and I think a real turning point in our season. I don't think it defines Warrington's season. If anything, it maybe gives them a bit of food for thought, and it might help them in the long term. Where they identify that maybe just clicking along as they are and debt partner at 7 isn't the answer. So it may help them long term.
If we talk about players that are linked with Hull, we could be here all day. We are a goldfish bowl.
Well, I'm going to tell you who I believe we've either signed or
Sean Sway then, otherwise we'll be here all afternoon.
Well, we've signed Josh Jones.
That's been announced, yeah. Great signing. Really happy with that.
And I also believe we've signed Kane Evans and Alex Glenn.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've said both of that, yeah.
And then we will sign 2 more players after that.
A winger.
One of Fecky or Swift. And it will we're talking to both Fecky and Swift, I'm led to believe. Whether we sign one of them or whether somebody comes out of left field, who knows? This is where I do trust Radders 100%.
Oh yeah.
In knowing players' market value. I mean, by all accounts, we've offered Westy a deal, we've offered Hadley a deal, but we've told them what we're prepared to pay him. If they can get more elsewhere, and that's what they want to do.
If they want to earn an extra 20-30 grand, they'll
fair play. Go and do it. So we'll identify a player's market value and we'll offer them what we can to fit them into our system.
Interesting that it's come out. Gary Carter from The Sun, and I must admit I've heard this figure a lot. 120 grand a year.
I'd be surprised.
He's on big money, mate. I know he wanted big money,
but
definitely on
even at 120, he would be on considerably less than Sika Manu, and he would be on a similar amount to what Minicello was on until this year.
Yeah, so he's a very good Super League player. That could be a very good sign.
It's quite an astute one. I can see it. And he plays every week.
Yeah.
Doesn't miss games, and he plays at a high level every week.
Especially for FC now, mate. He's going to do his ACL in his first game.
A true test for me is always what the opposition fans are saying about a player after you've signed him. They're absolutely gutted and saying we've got a good one. I've never seen him have a poor game.
No, he's been solid whenever he's played.
It's a good sign for me. I think if we end up with a back row of Glenn, Jones and Savelio next year, that'd be brilliant. I mean, lots
Young.
to play for that this year. Yeah,
That'd
young,
be really young.
young.
Well, obviously, Glenn will be 31 if he did come next season, but
You need some experience.
you still get two, 3 solid years out with him, don't you?
I said to you, Alex Glenn has been just about Brisbane's best player this season and has impressed me. I've paid more attention to him in the NRL than I would have done, knowing that he was linked to Hull.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Kane Evans is exactly what we need as a front rower.
Polynesian bit of punch there.
Wrecking ball was the word you used to me the other night, and I'd agree. It's one more forward.
Yeah, one more forward. As for Warrington, their big recruitment's probably done. Gareth Widdop.
And there's got to be question marks over that now. Do you know?
With his shoulder, yeah.
The good thing for them is he's like, or is it a good thing for them that he's going to be coming back before the end of the year?
Super League's a lot less intense in it as well, so that's probably the main reason why he wants to come over it, to be honest.
He is exactly what they need, though. Him playing with Austin will be tremendous.
If they don't win a comp with them two at half-back, then they never will, put it that way. Catalans v Wigan then. Catalans 33, Wigan 16. Played at Barcelona's new Camp Nou. 31,555 people.
New record attendance for a regular season game. Well, what's not to like about that?
Excluding Magic Weekend and the Grand Final, that has never been beaten. That's outstanding. Yeah. That's you cannot be anything but a positive.
And it's the exposure that Rugby League got on the back of it as well. You tap into Barcelona's millions of followers.
Well, I actually saw 7,000 tickets Barcelona sold, which is not bad. For a first go. You go back there next year now, you try double that.
Well, there's talk of potentially Magic there, yes please.
Well, I won't mind that.
The fact is Magic's going to continue for 3 years now.
They've signed the sponsorship.
So it's going to happen. I was of the opinion that it's probably ran its course. But if you are going to take it to either a Tottenham or a Barcelona, somewhere, a new ground, somewhere that is...
I'll take it to Tottenham and then Catalans can play Hull in Barcelona because I'm so first shot at that. Would that be better if it was a one-off event and you market the
where Catalans play the champions from each year?
Do that, yeah,
because that's what they've done. They played last year's champions. I don't mind that.
Saints next year then.
I don't mind.
To be fair, they have got to do that every year though, haven't they? They've got to go back to Barca Review and build on that now. And because one thing I did notice, obviously politically, Catalans they tried to get independence, didn't they? There was loads of rallies, if you like, in Barcelona.
It was a bit more than rallies, I think.
Well, yeah. I'm just, I don't want any label suits coming my way. So they're very proud people, Catalonians, and it's interesting. I've been to Barca a couple of times on holiday, and I went once when UFC played there, a couple of days in Barca, then went to Perpignan to watch the game, and they don't consider themselves Spanish. Catalonians. Yeah. Very proud Catalonians, and obviously Catalans are right in with that brown after all they're called Catalans after
there was an awful lot of those Catalan Barcelona shirts kicking out, wasn't there?
What I liked about it, but the Barcelona flags as well, but with the Catalan colours on. Yeah. So it's like our old Hull badge, it had like the Yorkshire Rose, the whole Crown Zumba Bridge. It was like a bit of the Catalan flag, then the Barca bit, then the dragon, and it looked really good actually, really smart. And as I say, for Super League, me and Johnny have always had expansions in France. The most successful expansion project in history is Catalan Dragons. I'd argue that with anyone. They've been a breath of fresh air to me. Obviously, they offer us a piss up in the south of France, which is always welcome. It's a great way, and they've added something to the competition. What I'd like to see now is that France team get stronger and be able to compete, with your Englands and.
They need to produce the pivots. That's what they need to do.
Well, you've got one in Tony Gijo, who's a great player.
But he's a
fullback. Yeah.
He's a traditional French player in terms of his all flair, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
I almost think they need a couple of boring pivots.
That's what Thomas Bosch was, but then.
Well, Lucas Albert might end up being that player.
Yeah.
He's only a young kid and he coming through. I thought this win in particular against Wigan was all the more impressive because they did it with no halves.
No Sam Tompkins, was it?
Well, their halfbacks, they started the game with Greg Baird and Samasoni Lange. Yeah. So really it was a loose forward in the centre.
Yeah.
And they lost Greg Baird after so long into the game. And so he got to step up and really help.
I don't want to disrespect Wigan here, but I think Catalans had to win that game, didn't they? Just for what it was and taking it to Barcelona. It was all about Catalans.
I think there's a true reflection of where both teams are at.
Yeah,
I thought Wigan had a good go at the dig at them. They didn't roll over.
They've improved in recent weeks, Wigan. They started to pick up some results. They were good in the cup against Warrington.
But they're not a top 5 team. There's too many holes.
I've learnt my lessons with Wigan. I'm not writing them off until it's over.
No, they're not a top 5 team.
No. Well, I'll put it out there now then.
I'll say to you, they'll finish 7th or 8th.
Hope you don't get any egg on your face, but I'll laugh if you don't.
100% finish 7th or 8th for Wigan. They'll win some games and then they'll lose games you'll expect them to win. They're the team that have caused me the most bother in terms of tipping games this year. Wigan, yeah, because I've backed them when I fought the 10 in a corner and then they've gone and got beat, and then I've gone against them when they've been on a long run and they've pulled a performance out of nowhere. They're a really obscure team because they've got individuals who can pull a rabbit out of a hat, who can go the distance, and with a bit of momentum can take anybody apart.
It's weird you say that, because the team that I always find hard to predict is our very own Hull FC.
I just back as usually.
You went for Warrington this week.
Cost me.
Yeah.
Still top.
I knew we'd say that eventually. I was waiting for that.
3 points, I think.
Cam's catching you up now, isn't he? There we go, our obligatory reference to our mate Paul Campbell.
I got a text about 20 seconds after you put the table up.
Oh, third!
So, at least I knew I was still top.
With my fanzine up the cream, we sponsor Paul Campbell, and he scored 12 tries in 6 Masters appearances this year. I messaged him the other day saying your sponsorship's going to be tripled next year with a record like that.
He better be scoring in our charity game on June the 8th.
I'll tell you what, though.
He asked me though, he said, do you have enough players, for it? Because I might not be playing.
Yeah,
I was like, no, we ain't got any players, Cam, you've got to play.
I'll tell you what, though, he could still play up in age. We don't need to play Masters. 39 years old, he can still cut it.
It's 40 this year, isn't he? So
yeah. The big 4-0.
Getting old.
I thought it was a big 4-0. Is it next year?
Is it next year?
Yeah, next year, 1980. That's enough about Cam. Let's move on.
London, Wakefield.
Well done, London Broncos. Obviously, you've listened to Man and Johnny's wisdom and you started throwing the ball about. You scored some points. Jordan Abdul!
All I'm going to say...
4 tries. Have you always seen the highlights? Wow. So his running game, he was fending people off. He was stepping off his fat feet, scoring tries, 4 of them. And I must admit, I was sat in... Obviously, this was played the same time as the old Wire game. And I was in Warrington. And I was just thinking, I wish I could bump into Johnny Compton right now and ask him his thoughts. Jordan Abdul, 4 tries, inspiring a massive win for his club, and in the process potentially sending his new club down or putting a coffin, a nail into Rovers' coffin. And what a great performance from Jordan Abdul. You gonna give him some credit?
Yeah, I'm gonna say every dog has its day, doesn't it? But no, to score 4 tries is a good feat.
I've never met a rugby league fan with an agenda.
No, I don't have an agenda. My issue is more about how he is as a person and how he behaved as a person at Hull FC.
He just didn't like it because he sang that Dead Dobbin song.
He did. He made some silly mistakes, but also as a player, right, a massive frustration. It's synonymous for me for every player who's got all the ability in the world but lacks heart. Who could be so much more. And a performance like this, to me, shows you how he could be so much more.
He could be like that every week.
He could be like that.
He should be like that every week. He's always had the ability. He's always had the passing, the big.
Usually he doesn't carry the ball. Usually he plays in front of the line. Usually he's a passenger defensively. Yeah. By all accounts, he won't matter. He was a bit of a passenger defensively again because he has due to his size, he has the mobility of a front rower playing on an edge. That's what it
always
is.
frustrating me all because I remember one time I went to Widnes and won 38-0 and Abdul absolutely ran the show. But then the next game he plays, he doesn't
carry the ball. Yeah, it's so intermittent with him. You can see that there's that much potential there, but it has to be a heart thing. It has to be because otherwise,
it's definitely a mental thing. Yeah.
If it was, I don't know. If it was application, if it was a mental thing, then they'd find a way around that, and he would apply himself ultimately. But he doesn't. He pulls out a performance like this and everybody goes, oh, there's a really good player there. Or Hull should have kept him. I'm like, what, for that one performance in 30? where he does something.
I didn't actually see anything about that.
Oh, there was 2 or 3 of them saying,
and do you know what I didn't notice when Hull signed Josh Jones? Not one bit of negativity on morning. No. I couldn't believe it.
With Abdul, what you get is everybody says, "Oh, we should have turned him into a 30." No, we shouldn't. He was an halfback, right? And he has the potential to be a really good halfback. He just has a different shaped body to most halfbacks. That's all. Whether that's you can live with that or not, I don't know. But I could have done 100%. Right, Paul Cook was a halfback who wasn't particularly fast, but he would at least take the line on. It pains me to say. Abdul could have been every bit what Paul Cook was. Every bit. Yeah, if anything, he had more tools than him. It's
still
just
could.
Yeah.
23 years old, so...
Well, he goes to the Dobbins, doesn't he? And then he's going to have to lead them about the pitch.
Maybe another year in the Championship. Who knows? But As far as London go, that's a massive win. In Wakefield, I mean, 2 defeats in London, different circumstances.
42-6 down, and then they came. I saw Andrew Fafita have a pop at their fans a little bit. On Twitter, yeah, saying, "Oh, well, if you can, well, no, sorry, not Andrew, David Fafita. I apologise." Saying that,
it wouldn't surprise me if Andrew was sticking up for it.
David was saying, "Oh, if you can't lose with us, then you can't win with us," or something along those lines.
If you shite, expect criticism. Man up.
Yeah,
these are people that pay your salary. They're perfect. If you shite, they're perfectly entitled to say you.
He just put something like no negativity, and it's like, well, if you're going to be vocal on social media, you're going to be a presence. You're going to get negativity.
There's a difference. I actually saw obviously with the stuff that's come out with Janssen Terji, and obviously good opportunity to wish him well enough. Is okay. But Jackson Hastings put a status saying, "Oh, we need to break the stigma about rugby league players about being big tough men, and it's okay to talk." And one of the replies was from a Salford fan. It said something along the lines of, "Same for us in defeat. When we do our criticism, we need to think before we say it." To some extent, I agree with that, because you don't want to be effing and blinding and name calling and going personal jokes. That's still fat. But if your players perform poorly, there's nothing wrong in saying that he was poor. You've done it all the time. He was Abdul's a point then. Usually, like against Hull, he was poor. But then by all accounts against Wakefield on Saturday, he was very good. So I sort of agree to it to an extent, but I don't agree with the fact that, oh, you can't do any negativity. And I think David Fafita's bang out of order there to say that to one of his fan base that pays his bloody wage. That doesn't sit well with me at all.
I thought it was the thing is, right, you look at Wakefield, they actually had some players back for this game. London v Wakefield, Jacob Miller was back. Jordan Miller. Jacob Miller was back. So you look at the balance of the team and you're thinking, yeah, they're a bit stronger. You know, they're going all right. And
are we discrediting London though if we're saying Wakefield?
Well, London managed the game and played really well.
They are a good team. They've got potential. And again, I'll reiterate the point. We've said they're a good team when they throw the ball about. Alex Walker's a great player.
Momentum for me.
Yeah,
and London went 42-6 up. Wakefield nearly got them coming back, and it was because both teams had momentum at different times of the game. And it's really difficult.
Yeah, fuck's sake, London. Why'd you let them get back in? Whoever's could have been bottom.
Oh well. Another week.
Just have to wait till Sunday night. Yeah,
it'll be okay. But again, Wakefield are a team. Do I think they'll make the 5? I think they probably will. But I think it is between them, Castleford, and Salford for the 5th spot.
I'd agree with that. I'm very confident that Catalans and Hull will definitely be a playoff side.
Yeah, so man.
Obviously, Warrington and St Helens ain't even a question. So it's about that 5th one.
Well, what about Warrington though? Do you think there's potential for them to go off the boil and slip from second?
What Hull now? 4 points behind.
Yeah.
Effectively 5 though with the points difference, isn't it? They're about 1 plus 190. We're still minus 30 something. No,
it's going to be tight.
I was going to say that. No,
we'd have to be near perfect, and we're not.
First and second is pretty much dead on for me.
Also, the fact that we're still involved in the Challenge Cup and things like that. The cup invariably plays a part in the league as well.
Radford has said that he likes it when we play bang bang bang.
Yeah,
doesn't like it when we play long term.
I don't necessarily mean us. I mean the game in general. Yeah,
right.
Whoever goes through, it could potentially, and if you've got skinnier squads, it can have an impact on the Super League season. You don't normally know the full makeup, and it's a good thing this until September time.
Yeah, that's fair.
Post Challenge Cup final, you've got a good idea about how
that's what winds me up. I've said this all along. Even when we won it, the Challenge Cup final should be played now.
Well, it's moving, isn't it?
We've got a bank holiday weekend. Obviously, I know you couldn't play at Wembley this weekend because you've got all the Football League finals, haven't you? But we had a bank holiday weekend at the start of May. You can even play it on the Easter weekend.
It is moving, but I don't think it's going to be at Wembley. I think I don't know. Isn't next year the last year for where we're going to play bank holiday? Challenge Cup.
I hope so.
No, it's been announced already. Well, Meet Paz 9 will tell you about it.
Yeah, it definitely is. If I was in charge,
I'm almost certain that's happened, and that
I hope that's the case. And if it is back to me and I've missed that, then great.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty certain. While we're talking about things that have happened that I'm really happy about as well, City of Hull Academy will be no more after the end of this year,
which is absolutely fantastic.
Hull FC will have their own academy, their own reserve team.
Good riddance.
And I don't care what they do, whether them Dead Dobbies have an academy, whether they have a reserve.
Well, they have to, don't they?
Well, they do if they're a Super League team.
Yeah, because there could be a championship track, couldn't they? Yeah. Very, very interesting. Obviously, if you're an avid reader.
Or if they go bust.
Yeah, if they go bust, which is always Oh,
A dream.
come on, God, make it happen. If you're a reader of the Up the Cream fanzine, I believe it is the only fanzine in Rugby League right now, we did a reserve report after the Halifax game at home and got a little scoop there that reserves will be mandatory next year for every Super League club, and the academy therefore has gone to the Super League under 18s instead of under 19s, which I don't mind that. And then you put them, as a fresh 18, 19-year-old, you throw them into the reserves and see how they play against men, which is what we need to do. It's going to create a bigger playing pool. I just hope it won't be a detriment to the amateur game. What we need to do is it encourages more players to play though. So I don't actually think it will be detriment to the amateur game, because usually you lose players to the game because there's no opportunities for them to play. This therefore creates another opportunity, and also you can keep players on your books for a bit longer. Maybe your 18, your 19-year-olds. I think we are too early in making the decisions on them and throwing them out the door. Whereas now we can maybe develop them for a further 2 years and see how they kick on in the reserves. Obviously playing at a tougher standard, a higher standard, more intense standard. So that will be interesting to see how that goes. As for the City of Hull Academy, I completely agree with Johnny. That was music to the ears, wasn't it? It was absolutely fantastic. Something we've never agreed with from day one. I actually had the misfortune of covering them for 2 years, but at least I scored my paycheck from it with the Old Daily Mail. But I just do not agree with it. It was fundamentally wrong. The only people that were in agreement with it was those who benefited from it. So the coaches that got paid, or mates of the coaches who licked their ass every day, didn't want to disagree with the mate. But it was a complete utter sham. The fundamentals are wrong. How can Tim Sheens get his Rovers lads embedded into a rugby team when he's playing with LSE kids and you can't play to your structures? And
I've seen an argument that there isn't enough young kids in Hull currently playing, to cover two
bullshit.
teams. Yeah, load of rubbish.
Absolute bull. They don't do the bloody research. We do now, me and Johnny. You'll take it away.
But there is. James Smells put something on Twitter recently.
Shows how uneducated he is with it as well.
And I absolutely felt compelled to put on there that we have between 15 and 19, 8 and 9-year-olds turn up and play every single week.
What do we have registered? 19
kids have got registered. And on any given week, we have between 15 and 19 kids that play. Yeah. Now, equally in our league, West Hull, they've got 20 kids.
Yep.
Hull Wyke have 20 kids. East Hull have 20 kids. Scalar have 20 kids. Mighton have 20 kids. Hull Dockers have 20 kids. Beverley have 20 kids. Olderness have 20 kids.
That's about 200 kids there.
Yeah, and that's just one age group. Yeah. And I know it's exactly the same at 6s, exactly the same at 7s, exactly the same at 10s. And at 11s, there's a little bit of a drop-off at the moment, but this group is coming through. It's been neglected for a period of time. Now, part of that is because there was a lack of appetite for people wanting, because kids didn't want to play for City of Hull Academy. They just didn't.
That was proven 2 years ago. 8 of them went to Castleford.
Yeah, by having Hull KR and Hull FC, if nothing else, it will improve the amateur, the youth setup in Hull, because kids have a better opportunity to play at academy level. Whether they have a better opportunity to make it is arguable, but and maybe you're diluting the talent pool a little bit.
It's identity, isn't it?
Yeah, if you're 100%.
As a kid, all you want to do is play for FC. Unfortunately, I wasn't good enough. Johnny wasn't good enough. Wish we were, but we weren't.
Played academy.
There we go then. It's all you want to do as a kid. As a 15-year-old, obviously I wasn't 15, I was 22 when that was announced. Not 23 actually. 23 years old when that was announced. But if I was a 15-year-old, I'd go, I don't want to fucking play for them.
Well,
who are they? City of Hull Academy, joint venture with Rovers.
I have an 8-year-old, don't I? Who's about to turn 9 next
month.
Right. Can you imagine if he got to 15 and the turned around and said to him, go play for them?
It would have said something which I can't repeat on this is a kid, right? Johnny has a white car, and when his lights come on, they're red. And Ray said to he went, Dad, you've got to change your car, it's red and white, you can't drive that.
And it was 100% serious.
Genuine, yeah. And if you call him a Rovers fan, he starts windmilling you.
Red Nose Day at school, the kid put his LFC black shirt on, his black and white tracksuit bottoms and his black and white trainers, and said he's going in them because he's not having that much red kicking about. And this isn't me.
This is an 8-year-old. Yeah, he's outstanding.
But you have that strength of feeling, and he's not on his own with that. There's lots of kids at that age and who get older. And don't get me wrong, there's lots who don't care and couldn't care less.
Yeah,
and just want to play. But you do have others who buy into it, who buy into the history of the sport and the tradition of it all.
Yeah,
and that's not a bad thing in my opinion. Maybe I'm a really bad dad by allowing him to be that way, but I couldn't care less.
I think you're a good dad. I think that's bringing your kid up the right way, personally.
Absolutely. But at the same way, if he was red, if we was red and white, I'd expect him to be like that the other way around. And I know people who are.
Well, I've got a couple of Rovers fans I engage with on social media. When I put that news out yesterday, they were the same. I looked on their timelines and they were exactly the same. Thank God we got rid of all FC.
They want
their identity.
Yeah.
They want their Rovers identity back. Kids coming up wanting to play for Rovers.
You can't have two teams that have such a significant rivalry in bed with each other.
No.
And that's the reality of what was happening.
Massively wrong.
And I got why they did it. They felt somebody, Neil Hudgell and Adam Pearson, took advice from various people within the game who told them that the talent pool wasn't sufficient to have two academies. That's inaccurate. I think it's part of the problem in terms of the depth of talent we've currently got. Competition breeds excellence, and the more opportunities these kids have to play and come under the professional systems, and the more kids we can get in that environment,
the better.
The more kids you're likely to capture. So many kids have been missed, haven't they?
That's it when you're playing Angry Birds on your phone. So when it's to go, the more opportunities you'll give to young players, that's good, and that's what I'm saying. This is why I say I don't think it'll detriment the amateur game either, because you're going to get more. You'll keep more players on. More players got opportunities. Players that necessarily won't get kept on will go back into amateur game. I can only see it being a good thing.
There has been a generation gap, hasn't there? Do you know, where none of the kids really from the 2000s have continued playing beyond sort of like 16s.
Well,
really.
I'm part of this generation right now, right? And I played at Cottingham Tigers. That was my amateur team. We've played all this bed. I moved to Cotton. I've been Cotton ever since, and played under 16s, 17s, 2 years of under 18s because my birthday wasn't. So I was one of the younger kids in my year, so I got to play next year of 18s. And then I went to open age, and the first year of open age was great. The second year was okay. Then it just evaporated. It just died down. And I'm thinking, well, why is that? Well, when you sign for an academy club, you're not allowed to play for your community club, which I think is wrong. I understand if obviously they're under 19s, waiting to go into Super League, that's fair enough. But when you've got 14, 15, 16-year-olds playing for an under 15s or under 16s academy side, why can't they go play for West Hull, Siddle, Wigan, St Patrick's on a weekend? That's wrong for me. They should be allowed to play for their community clubs.
Couldn't agree more.
And that's where I think we're losing the participation, because right now, and I'll use Hull FC as an example because I know a lot of these lads. You've got players like Zeus Silk, people like that were kept on at Hull, and they've been shown the door now, and obviously they don't play rugby league at all, which is a shame. And as I say, we're losing those players to the game, and we need to do something about that.
Couldn't agree more. I think that's a good point for us to stop this part of Meat Pies and Shots, eh?
Coming up, it's there.